Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. The market still hanging on after the nice little pump we got yesterday. Some think it's just a relief rally, though some are more confident that we're going to be moving more dramatically to the upside imminently. And I don't make predictions when it comes to this short-term stuff. I have my general perspective about on a higher time frame where we're going. I do not believe we're in a bear market. I have strong conviction on that, and if I'm wrong, so be it. But I'm going to share with you perspective from, I think it might be like 11 or 12 different XRP chart analysts in this very latest Moon Lambo hot to jam. And almost all of them think that, yeah, we're probably about to go way, way, way freaking higher. I'm telling you, excuse me, I'm telling you that none of them are swaying in their conviction that what is most probable is a final euphoric blow-off top for XRP. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 8:22 a.m. Central Time, Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. XRP is at $2.20. You got Bitcoin at 86,866 bucks, so a little bit lower than the peaks yesterday. Then the question is, if you're wondering short term, you got to be asking yourself, is this just a local peak for the short term? Are the people that said this is just a dead cat bounce or a relief rally, are they right? And then we're going to go lower before going much higher? Well, I will tell you this, and I covered a couple of perspectives in my last video where I was talking about market perspectives from various analysts. Even the analysts that think we could be going closer to like $1.50 or $1.60 for XRP, almost all of the analysts that have said that's possible have said, yeah, not sure if it happens, definitely could happen. That would be within historical norms for charts, and they articulated reasons why. But then they all say, but then it still goes to all-time highs. So but the point is, even that wouldn't break higher time frame structure, and there's no guarantee. Like there are tons of analysts that think that the market either has literally bottomed or is about to anyway, in which case we won't see those prices regardless. So we'll find out. Here's a post from popular chart analyst Alex Wasey. He shared this with his 206,000 followers on X. This is Bitcoin price chart. He says, this is the most oversold Bitcoin since 2022. That is fascinating to see. He says, final shakeout is done. So he seems to think that this is pretty much the bottom at this point. Here's a post from on-chain analytics firm Sentiment. This kind of hints at something. The number of wallets holding at least 100 Bitcoin has risen by 0.47%, that's 91 wallets, since November 11th. Meanwhile, small wallets, especially 0.1 Bitcoin or less, have been shrinking in number. Retail capitulation will generally play out well for crypto prices in the long run. And this is what you're always going to find, folks. You're going to see that the smart money, the whales, behave differently than the stupid money, the dumb money, which would be, you know, the smaller accounts. There's a reason that the whales have what they have and are able to maintain those holdings. They don't capitulate out of fear. They have strategic approaches to investing, and they're not going to be selling at a loss. They just don't. And they buy the fear, and then they sell the euphoria. That's absolutely what they do. And so look at the behavior right here. It's a tale as old as time. And so that's one more point of confluence to say, hey, even if we're not at the literal bottom now, the whales think it's close enough. Because even, look, the whales are the smart money. They don't know for sure where the bottom is. It's not like they've now purchased and, it will not go lower. No. They don't think that. You can't time perfectly a bottom. Nobody can. But the point is, they believe that this is the general zone where a bottom is formed. That's why they're purchasing. So even if it does go lower, they might be enticed to buy even more. They don't freak out over this stuff. That's the difference between behaviors from smart money and dumb money. That is a true thing. Here's a post from on-chain analytics firm Swissblock. Yes, Bitcoin bounced to $89,000, but momentum still hasn't ignited. It remains deeply negative at levels typical of late-stage capitulation. Until momentum turns, every bounce is just a tactical reaction. And ignition becomes possible if Bitcoin stabilizes above $85,000 to $86,500. And so where we are right now, they bluntly stated it, folks. What you're seeing in this chart on your screen is typical of late-stage capitulation, meaning either we're at the bottom or we're pretty damn close if history is to rhyme with itself. Just read between the lines there. Here's a post from chart analyst Mustache, and he says, altcoins are looking anything but bad. I've said often enough that this cycle will last longer. After this long decline, we will see a months-long uptrend for altcoins, in my opinion. A breakout from this monster falling wedge is inevitable. Okay, so there's another analyst that absolutely buys into the lengthening cycle theory here. And I mean, I think that I have to agree with it at this point, because either it's true or we are actually entering a bear market. And the 4-year cycle, like, what, again, I always ask people, the people that are like, no, it has to be 4 years. It's been 4 years and we haven't seen the top, therefore bear market. And I always have to ask, okay, what triggers the 4-year cycle? What makes it so that this is a 4-year cyclical thing? And they don't know because they're not well researched. What triggered that? It was debt refinancing. Debt refinancing shifted from 4 years to 5 years. So stop saying it has to be four years here, when the thing that made it 4 years is different. I mean, in terms of timing, behaviorally, it's the same. The timing is the part that's different. So everything is still playing out exactly as you should expect. And look here. And so this is the others BTC chart. So it's showing altcoins priced against Bitcoin. And all I'll tell you is this: I don't pretend to know where the bottom is, but markets find bottoms. And look at how it's just been trending down for several years at this point. Markets find bottoms. I have a feeling that by the time this cycle hits its peak, people that are, had purchased in this range, I have a suspicion that a lot of them are going to be very happy. Here's a post from Crypto Wizard. This is a similar chart. It's others' dominance against Bitcoin dominance. So not surprisingly, it looks pretty samey. And he wrote, more depression or 2018, but much bigger. From 2018 to the lows, altcoins dropped 83%. Structurally, it seems we're still in the depression phase. The ending of quantitative tightening turned the tide from 2020. Not long to find out if this time too. Yeah, and so QT, quantitative tightening, also ending this cycle December 1st, as announced by the Fed. And so he's saying, looks like he's questioning it technically, but he's thinking, maybe this fallen wedge right here, kind of playing out the same as what we previously saw leading into the last cycle. And again, history does tend to rhyme with itself. And if this is the case, blast off eventually. We just don't know for sure exactly when, but history rhymes with itself for many, many, many reasons. Here's a post from Mikey Bull Crypto. He says, XRP is looking very bullish at this point. And look at this. It's just amazing to see. This is the new norm for XRP. It's volatile because it's crypto, but look at the range that we've been trading in here basically this entire year. $2 to $3 range at times, a little bit above that, only for moments below $2. That would be super rare in 2025. So yeah, $2 to $3 range. That just seems to be the norm right now. You just love to see it because you go back a year, a little over a year ago, and then from that point to the last several years, the normal trading range would be like what, 40 cents, 30, 40, 50 cents. Things have changed, folks. Adoption is real. The amount of money that has flowed into XRP, it's not all just going to be undone. Yes, it's volatile, but we're at a new level, folks. I think it's just impossible to deny that at this point. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK. It says, strong daily close for XRP BTC yesterday. I would like to see us close today above the 0.0000253 level. From there, I think it's likely we revisit the top of this range at least, after forming a technical higher low. I would say there is some merit to the argument that this range could be a bull pennant. If we can close above the range highs, I think we accelerate pretty quickly to our take profit target 1 area, with a minimum of 100% outperformance versus Bitcoin and a maximum of 700% to take us to all-time highs for this period. Okay, so he posted that this morning, just a little over 2 hours ago, and I love to see this because just coincidentally, I happened to be talking about this topic just yesterday, and I mentioned that XRP has not had a new all-time high priced against Bitcoin since the first half of 2017. It has been over 8 years. That is incredible. So I love that after over 7 years, XRP hit a new price against the United States dollar. That happened in January this year. Took over 7 years. Just because we haven't hit a new all-time high and it's been a really long time against Bitcoin here, doesn't mean it won't happen. And it is, just be clear, XRP is dramatically below the 2017 all-time high. Meaning, if it ever gets back up there, even just once, unless you think the price of Bitcoin is falling dramatically against the dollar, that means XRP is going to be worth a freaking fortune compared to where it is right now. There's so much room to run. There's so much room for this market to catch up. It has been artificially suppressed for years and years and years and years. And I don't know when that's going to happen, but I do believe at some unknown point in the future, XRP is going to find a new all-time high against Bitcoin. It would be weird if it didn't. You know, even if it were just brief, even if just a brief moment and then it falls back down like it did in 2017, that's fine. That's going to give us that have been in XRP for so long a ton of opportunity to exit at ridiculous prices. I'm waiting for that, folks. And again, you just got to control the parts you can control, which is whether or not you have exposure when the thing happens, because you can't control if or when the market's going to pump, but you can control whether or not you have exposure when it ultimately does, if it's going to do it. And I believe it will, personally. Here's a post from chart analyst Javon Marks, XRP BTC chart, a similar message here. He said, XRP still looking positioned here to outrun Bitcoin by over 550%. And you can see this chart going back to 2017. Look what he's talking about. That ain't crazy stuff, folks. And so even at this price level, that would be insane for XRP. If you consider what that means for XRP against the dollar, you're still talking double digits. But now imagine if the price of Bitcoin is even higher. What if Bitcoin is worth more like, $150 or 150,000 bucks? And then XRP runs up against Bitcoin to the same degree as what he's charting right here. What if that happens? Well, then you're talking about way, way, way higher. Then you're getting probably closer to, I haven't crunched the numbers, but it's what, 17, 18, 19, 20 bucks, probably somewhere up around there. That happens in crypto. Okay, markets catch up. Markets find bottoms. Markets catch up. That is a thing. Here's a post from Zake Charts. XRP is bouncing off wedge support. $3.50 remains a realistic upside target. And of course, he's talking about in the short term here. And so you'd be getting close to all-time high territory, which of course occurred in July this year, $3.65 for each XRP. I mean, what do you actually think, folks? Do you think that, okay, we hit that all-time high of $3.65. Now people are fearful. What do you think is going to happen? We never see a new all-time high for XRP against the dollar ever again? That was it? The best just happened? What we just saw several months ago, that's it? If the answer is no, then why are you freaking out? If you're one of the people freaking out. And I know, I get it. Human emotions, I understand. You're not stupid or bad or anything just because you're freaking out. I'm just trying to share with you that you don't have to respond that way. You can have a historical perspective. You can arm yourself with logic, data, and use reason to not fall into those very human pitfalls. It's very normal, but it's not fun. And now if it were true that we're probably going to fall down, then yeah, we'd have to embrace the fear and then act accordingly. But fundamentals for XRP have never been stronger. This type of volatility is normal, and markets find bottoms, and then markets ultimately let enough time pass. If the thing's not going to zero, it's eventually going to find a new all-time high. It's trending upward with everything else, folks. It's just obvious. I don't pretend to know when it's going to happen, but I sure as hell am going to have exposure to the market when it happens. I'll tell you that. Here's a post from chart analyst Dali Martinez. Best case, XRP is shaping a right-angled ascending broadening wedge, but it all comes down to whether the $2 support holds. And you can see he's targeting here over $7 in the coming months if $2 holds. And there are analysts that have been warning it's possible we could see downward price action, including Credible Crypto. He even said it's possible, and he's an XRP bull, but he said XRP could drop to like $1.60. But he did say in the same post, if that happens, which he's not predicting, he's saying if it happens, you're still going to see new all-time highs for XRP this cycle. It wouldn't break anything, is the point. It would just cause some people to panic. Here's a post from Charting Guy. XRP still going to $8. I don't care. And so he's been steadfast in this. He's saying way higher. I can't blame it. This is what I keep seeing from analyst after analyst after analyst. XRP's not broken. The chart's not broken. It's moving in tandem with the rest of the market. Couldn't be more obvious. Here's a post from chart analyst CW. XRP is broken out of the high leverage short position zone. And so this shows XRP punching through a major cluster of high leverage short positions. And those are the bright horizontal bands. You know, they're where short traders get liquidated because they're dumbasses playing with fire. And XRP sliced right through them. And that confirms shorts got blown out and clears a lot of resistance above, which of course gives XRP room to move way more freely. You know, thin air, as they say. It's just one more point of confluence showing XRP is not in a bad spot right now. Here's a post from chart analyst Galaxy. It says XRP bouncing from the $2 support is good news. If you ask me, this pattern from 2017 is still in play. Okay, well, tons of analysts I follow are still saying we're going to follow 2017. I personally I'm going to critique this. I'm happy to share diverse viewpoints, even if I don't agree. I think this, you have to look at the screen to see what I'm talking about, but right here where he highlighted that as the comparison to where we are now, I disagree pretty strongly. I think where we are right now, you see this range here, it's more like this right here after XRP had its first major burst. It's this right here where it moved sideways for half a year. I don't know why he's saying it's like that. There's like 2 analysts I follow that are making this point. I just don't find that to be particularly compelling. That's the first major burst. We've moved sideways, and then you're waiting for the final one. Now, I'd like him to be right, because if he's right, then we're going way, way, way higher than what the hell most of the analysts that I'm following are thinking. But I wouldn't hate that. Here's a post from chart analyst Dom, XRP US oil update. Range levels are still being respected well, as we saw a local low at the bottom third quartile. This bounce is nice to see, but we must keep in mind there are ways to go until this downtrend is considered broken. And so, sitting pretty, but we're still waiting for something more decisive to unfold. But hey, I'll freaking take that. Then there's this from Crypto Tony. He says, update, I am sorry, I do think we had a lot lower, and he's charting $1.49 for XRP. And I don't know if he thinks we're going to go up after. This is the most bearish post I could find today. He could be right. I acknowledge that. But I'm just saying, even if it happens, I'm doubtful that means that we're just going to head even lower. You know, I don't think that it's going to break anything, because I follow tons of analysts that say even in the short term, if that happens, we're actually still fine. So happy to share the most bearish stuff I can find. I can't find stuff today more bearish than this. It is what it is. I think it makes sense to be optimistic for the future. The best is yet ahead. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.